Well, Anjali, thank you so much for helping with my project. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I live in Austin. I'm married with a child. He's 12 and in middle school. And I there's really not much else to say. I work in the IT industry. I'm just hanging out, having fun.
Awesome. Is he going to class in person or doing virtual?
He's virtual right now. I'm not going to send him back until probably next year.
Yeah, both my sons are home. The oldest one's from college and the youngest one's in high school. So it's been kind of,
Oh, wow. Wow. They're getting big.
I know, I know. Um, so what are some of your hobbies, things you do for fun?
I used to play around, a little bit of golf, or just go to, an area where I could just tee off and hit the ball around. So I'm trying to take my son a little bit there now. He's actually enjoying it, but they're all shut down right now. We're not allowed to go. Um, Play poker sometimes when I can. Mm, Football's always a good sport. I enjoy watching college and pro football and basketball. So I watch a lot of sports.
Um, yeah, I mean, you would think golf would be a COVID-friendly sport, sort of like tennis, unlike basketball.
I think in the beginning, everyone got scared, so our golf course shut it down. And they've just maybe recently opened because it's a golf course dash tennis. So they're more trying to figure out the safety around the tennis side.
Yeah. I mean, as long as you don't share a bench and you don't shake hands, and I
Yeah,
mean,
I
it's
mean,
just like
tennis is also a very COVID friendly sport.
exactly unlike squash, where you're like in an enclosed place and you're like,
Yeah, and sweating and all over each other and bumping into each other.
yeah. Um, well, that's interesting. Yeah, I've never played golf actually. I need to. I tried one of the the places where you go and you have the multiple levels and
Oh,
you
yeah, yeah, Top Golf.
Top Golf. Yes, I've been there a couple of times, but just for parties and stuff. So
Yeah.
our biggest thing right now is pool. We got a pool table and we've been playing that
No.
lately.
I used to enjoy a lot of pool when it was around and easily accessible. Uh, I don't have a pool table, so it's a little bit harder to play, but my in-laws do, so we play when we go there. Um, Definitely a good pastime.
That's pretty awesome. So did you know that we were planning to send astronauts back to the moon in 2024?
So I gotta be honest, I did not, though in following some of your stuff online, I don't actually recall if it was one of the links that you posted or a random article, but I read one that said um, that we were planning to send them in 2024. And then it was like, I think they're looking at like a male and a female astronaut this time. So I did read that. I just don't know when I read it recently, but based on the stuff I see from you, I thought in the very beginning, I didn't know if it was real or not, and maybe more just hopeful for this project. But then I've recently seen articles, probably something you've posted that I've actually opened and read.
Yeah, I'm pretty mono themed lately. So
Nothing wrong with that.
uh, uh, it all depends on how much you're around me, you know. It's nothing wrong if we only meet up every few years. So
Yeah.
but what do you think about it? Us going back to the moon?
I think it's longer overdue. Um, I got to be honest, like when we had the shuttle stuff earlier this year, I don't think it dawned on me that we actually shut down the program for 9 years or whatever the number was. It just never dawned on me that the actual program was shut down and we weren't sending Americans into space. So I'm one of those that's actually kind of glad to see it back a little bit. Even though, the shuttle stuff was with Elon, and I'm glad that whatever it takes to get it there, whether it's a combination of government and commercial, I'm glad that it's making its way back.
And just kind of like a little tidbit. We were actually sending astronauts continuously to the International Space Station. It's just they were flying on the Russian rocket instead of.
Right.
Okay,
No,
cool.
I think I read, I think I knew that, but maybe not. But just for us to be flying our own shuttles again, I think is huge. But I also didn't realize that we'd stopped the program, and it just kind of made like previous shuttles that have launched that much more um, amazing to watch and see because it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, I have a sad story. I thought it was a pretty big deal too. And my youngest son and I drove all the way to Florida to go see it, but it was like at the end of the semester.
Uh-huh.
And the first time it was supposed to launch, the weather was bad. And then like they were gonna try again. I think that's a Wednesday. They were gonna try again on Saturday, but the weather's supposed to be even worse on Saturday. And it looked like it might clear up at the beginning of next week, but he needed to be back here to take some tests. And so it's like, oh, we'll just go ahead and go back. And we ended up coming back here and watching it on video on that
Oh
Saturday. I
no.
know.
God, because you were there.
I was there.
You'd have been like, here's the car, take it. Come back and get me in a week.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. He probably would have liked that actually. Uh, his mom, on the other hand, would have had some words.
Probably.
Yeah. Um, well, I mean, like, what do you hope we get out of it? Because, not everybody thinks it's the best way to be spending our money.
Um, hang on one second. Go ahead. Um, I I just think there's so much opportunity out there. I'm not necessarily totally on board with colonizing it and like having people give up their life here and start a new colony there and with the intentions of never coming back. Um, I, but I guess if I don't know them, you know, good for them. But I think it's great exploration. I think it's something we should spend money on and probably better use of what we're spending half of our money on anyway.
And like, whenever you think about the future of humanity, like 500 years from now, um, what do you think it's going to look like? I mean, will we still be just on this earth making little trips to places and it'd be very similar to what it is now? Or do you think it'd be radically different somehow? Like, do you think we really would have expanded beyond the earth? And
I think we would have expanded beyond the earth. By then, yeah. I think that the colonization that's talked about right now, I don't think will happen in our lifetime. But I think enough talk will happen and setup will happen to where I think it'll happen in a generation or two. Um, and by then, and then after that, it'll just take off. But I don't know that it'll happen in our lifetime.
it's really kind of interesting, because if you talk to people who were in like the 1960s and 1970s, they really thought it would all happen in their lifetime. And then
Right.
we stopped going to the moon and, into the shuttle program and we kind of contracted some more. And now, even like two generations later, we're sort of, not ours, some others. I'm just wondering, why do you think it's likely it would happen in a future lifetime? Like, what would change?
I think there's, unless like more commercial side of it, not government side, step up, more like the Elons with that kind of backing and money and make it happen, I don't think it'll happen. But I mean, look what he did for the shuttle program. He brought it back. He like it was backed by him. It obviously funded. If he can make that happen, and if he's part of this that wants to colonize like Mars or Moon or whatever, I think somebody like him with a financial backing can make it happen. But I think it cannot be a government only solution like it's been all the years in the past. It's got to extend beyond government and NASA. Like the funding has to extend beyond that. And then, like the rich folks in the world have to be able to back it and help move it along. Otherwise, I think it's just too expensive of a project um, that any individual government is not going to be willing to take on.
Talking about rich folks, did you know that Jeff Bezos has a space company?
I had heard that, or I read that somewhere.
They have a very peculiar funding model. He sells $1 billion a year of Amazon stock to fund it.
Does he really?
Yeah,
I did not know that. Wow.
and it's actually been around slightly longer than SpaceX, but they're a lot quieter. If you,
How are they in progressing, like doing what they want to do? Because SpaceX said, hey, this is what we want to do. And now they've done it already, right? So how's Bezos' company executing their plan?
they're very secretive and they're not quite the publicity grabbers. But whenever I went to the Kennedy Space Center during, to try to see that launch, the visitor center opened up the day afterwards, so at least it wasn't a completely bad visit. But immediately outside of there was this huge, like several huge buildings with Blue Origin, the name of his company there, and they're like hiring like crazy. If you look at LinkedIn, every day I see a few people posting that they've been hired, and um, uh, one of the project managers from like the oil and gas industry that's part of my space society, he got laid off from the oil and gas company, and now he's working at Blue Origin, working on their stuff. So
Wow, cool.
yeah, so I hopefully we'll see some cool stuff. They just much they. It's like Elon's like the really hungry upstart guy, and Jeff Bezos is more like the rich kind of digging it guy. So it's like a little different.
I'm in the background and do what I need to do.
Yeah, exactly. Now, if it was safe and affordable, would you go to space?
Yeah.
Now, are you talking about like a suborbital flight on like Virgin Galactic, just kind of go above the atmosphere and see the curvature of the Earth and the blackness of space, or maybe go to the space station for a week? And
I do the whole week, maybe even like a couple weeks. I don't know that I'd be there for like 2 or 3 months just because I'm not like that into that kind of stuff to where I would make myself useful. Like I'd be like, oh, this is kind of cool, and maybe I'd learn something, but I don't know how useful I'd be. And when you say affordable, that's a whole different level.
yeah, I know right now the price tag is like between 55 and 60 million. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It'd have to drop like, let's see, six of those zeros. No, nine of those zeros for me to
yeah,
get.
it's not exactly front pocket money, is it?
No. I mean, maybe in a world where reality is it's like 5,000 or 5,500, but not with all those extra zeros behind it now. I to me, as a middle income person, 5,000 is probably the range I would think most people's max it. Like I don't even think, unless there's someone like you who's really interested in it and would set aside the money to do something like this, I don't even think 50,000 is reasonable for like middle income folks like us.
Yeah, I my children and I did go on like a zero G flight where, the plane does like these big parabolas and you get to float
Mhm.
around for a bit. And that was like, we got like, it was a Monday. So I think that was like at 12,000 for the three of us,
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.
So, but that hurt.
Yeah, I imagine it did.
Yeah, I think it might be a decade or two before we uh, feel like doing something else. I mean, that's the problem is, you buy like a fancy car, you get to drive it every day, but like these experiences, it's like,
One and done.
one and done. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, well, I really appreciate your time. Is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't get to?
How did you get started into this?
So, uh,
Like, what started you to have this project on, countdown to the moon and a person every day?
yeah, so there was this associate administrator who was responsible for actually making it happen. He was appointed in November, and he had a little lapel pin that had the number of days to the end of 2024. And he was highlighting a NASA person a day as really, this is the person that's really contributing a lot to making it happen. And in December, I was just walking around and I was like, I could interview like a regular everyday person till the end of 2024. And my niece was visiting us. She's like, "Yeah, Uncle Nathan, you should do that." And so I got started. And I was like originally thinking of as an anti-social distancing project because I was working from home for years before the COVID thing, and I would
Hmm.
go like a week or two without actually seeing non-family members. And so
Yeah.
I was planning to do all these in person, like at the coffee shop, in the mall, and what have you. That really worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's funny. But that's
but
awesome.
now it has so much momentum. I can't give it up. I haven't missed a day yet.
I
So
know that's awesome, which is why um, I offered and said, "Hey, if there's any day that you don't have anyone, give me a call." I'm just surprised it came this early. I was hoping you would have enough people on your list you wouldn't have to call me for a while. And then like I was like, okay, well maybe he'll come around to calling me like in a year or two. I'm really surprised it happened this early.
yeah, me too. Actually, I other than October 3rd, I have people scheduled all the way up into the beginning of November.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
and the guy that I was supposed to interview today, he had to reschedule. So I was like, huh, I know who I'm calling.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that, though. I'm glad to hear that you have a lot of people scheduled out for a few weeks.
Yeah, and sometimes it's having so far out, it's kind of like a counter thing because they forget about it.
Yeah,
And so, but um, that that's fixable.
yeah.
So
Well, I appreciate. I applaud you for the work that you're doing. I think this is awesome.
I really appreciate it. And well, you have a good rest of your day. And next time we'll have to talk about golf or something
Yeah,
non-spacey.
absolutely. All right, we'll talk later.
Okay, bye bye.